that, we have two wonderful moderators. The first moderator that we are going to call upon on the stage has come all the way from Maharashtra. She is a Niti Aayog Aspirational District Fellow. I am very pleased to welcome on stage Ms. Vaishnavi.
वैष्णवी रामदोखर महाराष्ट्र के सबसे दूरस्थ और आदिवासी बहुल क्षेत्रों में से एक नंदुरबार जिले के अक्कलकुवा ब्लॉक में आकांक्षी ब्लॉक फेलो, एस्पिरेशनल ब्लॉक फेलो के रूप में कार्यरत है। उनका कार्य स्वास्थ्य, पोषण, कृषि और बुनियादी ढांचे जैसे क्षेत्रों में विकास परिणामों को मजबूत करने पर केंद्रित है। वे माननीय जिला कलेक्टर के मार्गदर्शन में जिला स्तर पर स्वास्थ्य, पोषण और उद्यमिता से जुड़ी पहलों में भी सहयोग करती हैं। अपने पेशेवर कार्यों के साथ साथ उन्हें लेखन का शौक है और वे गायन के प्रति अपने जुनून के माध्यम से अपनी रचनात्मकता को अभिव्यक्त करती हैं।
हेलो, गुड मॉर्निंग, सब कैसे हैं? मेरा नाम वैष्णवी है। मैं नंदुरबार, जो महाराष्ट्र का एक बहुत रिमोट एरिया जिसे माना जाता है, मैल न्यूट्रिशन, इन्फेंट मोर्टालिटी, मैटरनल मोर्टालिटी, चाइल्ड मैरिजेस, ऐसी चीज़ें जो हमें शहर में लगती है कि शायद ये दुनिया से या हमारे आसपास से ख़त्म हो चुकी है, ऐसे एरिया में पिछले 2.5 साल से मैं काम कर रही हूँ। उसके पहले मैंने नागपुर में काम किया है। मैं नागपुर में ही आई वॉज रेज्ड इन नागपुर, आई स्टडीड इन नागपुर। और उसके बाद जब मैं कुछ 6-7 साल 6th या 7th स्टैंडर्ड में थी, तो मुझे एक अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली कि मैं किसी के साथ, एक NGO था, उनके साथ मैंने एक विलेज विजिट किया। तो वो विलेज ऐसा था जहाँ पे वो विलेज था हंटर्स का, जो हम जिसे कहते हैं कि जो पशु पक्षियों को मार के उनका पेट भरते हैं। और उनको ब्रिटिश जो एम्पायर जब था, उनको दे वर लेबल्ड एज क्रिमिनल ट्राइब्स। बहुत ही मतलब वहाँ के जो लोग थे, काफ़ी ज़्यादा स्टिग्मा उन्हें झेलना पड़ा था। वहाँ जाके मैंने ये देखा कि जो कम्युनिटी थी वहाँ की, वो काफ़ी साल से एक बर्ड की हंटिंग कर रही थी। वो एक पक्षी था जिसका नाम है, वो एक इंडियन बस्टर्ड के फैमिली से बिलोंग करता है। उसका नाम है लेसर फ्लोरिकन, और वो आज पक्षी क्रिटिकली एंडेंजर्ड माना जाता है। मतलब आपको दुनिया में हार्डली उसकी कुछ 10-15-20 अभी वो चिड़िया बची हुई है। ये एक ऐसी कम्युनिटी थी जो हंटर्स इसका शिकार करके उसको कंज्यूम करती थी, खाती थी अपने पेट भरने के लिए। लेकिन मैंने ये चीज़ देखी कि एक कम्युनिटी, एक NGO के माध्यम से कैसे वो कम्युनिटी के साथ मिलके हंटर की कम्युनिटी, उन्होंने ही अभी ऐसा सपोर्ट करना शुरू किया गवर्नमेंट को और बाकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को कि अब उन्हीं के माध्यम से वो बर्ड का कॉन्जर्वेशन हो रहा है। तो मेरा वो छोटी सी उम्र में, 6-7 साल की उम्र में, मेरा वो पहला आप कह सकते हैं फेस ऑफ था रूरल इंडिया के साथ। मतलब गांव में क्या ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो रहा है, हो सकता है, मुझे पहली बार वो चीज़ें पता चली। क्यों ऐसा क्यों है? क्योंकि जो हंटिंग कम्युनिटीज़ थी, उन्हीं को पता था कि वो पूरा नेचर को समझती थी कि चिड़िया कहाँ अंडे देती है, वो क्या खाती है, क्या नहीं। वो पक्षी के बारे में या नेचर के बारे में सबसे ज़्यादा अगर किसी को पता होगा तो वो थी रूरल कम्युनिटी, वहाँ के लोग। और जो NGO था, उन्होंने ये चीज़ समझी कि हम अगर अकेले काम करेंगे तो हम सफल हो पाएंगे क्या? नहीं। तो हमें जो ग्रास रूट कम्युनिटी है, वहाँ के लोग हैं, उनके साथ रह के ही काम करना पड़ेगा। वो मेरा 6वीं-7वीं में जो एक्सपोजर था, उसके बाद मैंने एक बात ठान ली थी कि मुझे मेरे लाइफ में फील्ड पे जाके, ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी थी वो, और मुझे ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी के साथ ही काम करना है। तो फॉर्चुनेटली आई गॉट दी अपॉर्चुनिटी टू वर्क इन नंदुरबार डिस्ट्रिक्ट। और पिछले 2.5 साल से हेल्थ, एजुकेशन, न्यूट्रिशन, एग्रीकल्चर और सोशल एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, ऐसे कुछ इंडिकेटर्स है नीति आयोग के। और इसके जो इंडिकेटर्स है वो हम लोग सैचुरेट, मतलब जो बेनिफिशियरीज है उसके उन तक ये सारी चीज़ें और ये स्कीम्स पहुंच पाए, उसके लिए मैं काम कर रही हूँ। हमारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर भी यहाँ पे हैदराबाद में है, और उनकी गाइडेंस के अंडर जो भी प्रोजेक्ट दिए जाते हैं उसको भी संभालने की कोशिश करती हूँ। और मैं आज आपकी मॉडरेटर हूँ, और यूथ एड को धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगी कि उन्होंने मुझे ये अपॉर्चुनिटी दी। थैंक यू।
We now have the second moderator also for the panel, Ms. Pranay Kumar from TGIC. He is the Head of Government Innovation and Partnership at TGIC. Welcomes. We now call upon our panelist, Professor Aslam.
प्रो डॉक्टर M.S.M. असलम श्रीलंका की सबरगमुवा यूनिवर्सिटी में टूरिज्म मैनेजमेंट के प्रोफेसर हैं और उन्होंने यूनिवर्सिटी पुत्रा मलेशिया से टूरिज्म में PhD की है। उन्होंने श्रीलंका में पर्यटन योजना और नीति निर्माण के क्षेत्र में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दिया है। वे जिला स्तरीय पर्यटन योजनाओं के लिए मुख्य सलाहकार चीफ कंसल्टेंट रह चुके हैं और होमस्टे तथा कम्युनिटी बेस्ड टूरिज्म पहलों के लिए राष्ट्रीय सलाहकार नेशनल कंसल्टेंट के रूप में भी कार्य कर चुके हैं। डॉक्टर असलम ने सरकारी सलाहकार बोर्डों में भी अपनी सेवाएं दी हैं और पर्यटन क्षेत्र में क्षमता निर्माण, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग तथा नेतृत्व विकास लीडरशिप डेवलपमेंट को सक्रिय रूप से बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं।
We welcome Kadambari, our friend. Please come forward.
कादम्बरी ताई पुणे की एक ट्रांसवुमन सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता, कलाकार और इन्फ्लुएंसर है जो ट्रांसजेंडर अधिकारों और सामाजिक समावेशन के लिए अपने कार्य के लिए जानी जाती है। वे स्नातकोत्तर हैं और उन्हें 64वीं राज्य स्तरीय नाट्य स्पर्धा 2026 में सर्वश्रेष्ठ अभिनेत्री पुरस्कार से सम्मानित किया गया है। वे CYDA और मंगलमुखी किन्नत चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट के साथ मिलकर जागरूकता, परामर्श और मानसिक स्वास्थ्य से जुड़ी पहलों पर कार्य करती है। एक अभिनेत्री, लेखिका, नृत्यांगना और मॉडल के रूप में वे ट्रांसजेंडर समुदाय में आत्मनिर्भरता और गरिमा को बढ़ावा देती है।
One round of applause, please. We have Miss Himalaya.
सुश्री हिमालय राव पोटलापल्ली ब्लैक फाउंडर्स मैटर फंड की मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर और जनरल पार्टनर है। यह एक सीड स्टेज वेंचर फंड है जो स्केलेबल ब्लैक लीड स्टार्टअप्स को समर्थन देता है। वे वेंचर पार्टनर्स की कार्यकारी निदेशक, एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर भी हैं, जहां वे समावेशी वेंचर कैपिटल इकोसिस्टम को बढ़ावा देती हैं। उन्होंने अपने करियर की शुरुआत एक सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता के रूप में की थी, उसके बाद वे उद्यमी और निवेशक बनी। वेंचर फाइनेंस में विशेषज्ञता के साथ MBA की डिग्री रखने वाली सुश्री हिमालय ने कई निवेश कंपनियों में काम किया है और पोर्टलैंड स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटी में वेंचर इन्वेस्टिंग भी पढ़ाया है।
Mr. Arun Daniel.
श्री अरुण डैनियल यलामाटी कुमार यंगिस्तान फाउंडेशन के संस्थापक और निदेशक हैं। यह एक बड़ी स्वयंसेवक आधारित जमीनी संगठन है जो युवाओं के नेतृत्व में सामाजिक परिवर्तन को आगे बढ़ाता है। वे ग्लोबल सिटीजन अवार्ड से सम्मानित हैं और शिक्षा, जलवायु कार्रवाई, स्वास्थ्य तथा आपदा प्रतिक्रिया जैसे क्षेत्रों में स्वयंसेवकों को संगठित करने का उन्हें 10 वर्षों से अधिक का अनुभव है। 2014 में स्थापित यह संस्था अब तक 50 लाख से अधिक लोगों के जीवन को प्रभावित कर चुकी है और 60 से अधिक शहरों में सक्रिय रूप से कार्य कर रही है। वे TEDx और जोश टॉक्स के वक्ता हैं तथा उन्हें सामाजिक प्रभाव के लिए कई प्रतिष्ठित पुरस्कार भी प्राप्त हुए हैं।
Yeah, so the floor is all yours now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the YESummit for this opportunity and creating this dialogue. And probably in the recent past, this is one of the more focused and very focused as well as large scale non-academic also in terms of non-academic, a lot of people that we saw who's coming to understand grassroots entrepreneurship and inclusive growth. So for that, something to create a dialogue on this itself as a community or a sector, this is also something that's being very niche and a lot of people don't look at it. So thank you so much for having this panel here, and I'm happy to share the session with my co-moderator Vaishnavi, and I was just trying to learn briefly about what she's doing in one of the Nandurbar district as an aspirational district fellow, somebody who's been unlike us at the ground, has been seeing all of it from health, nutrition and all. So thank you so much, and all the panelists. Amazing to have you here, coming down from different countries, different communities, and also different TRL levels of an entrepreneurship, right? Somebody we have from funding, somebody we have right away from livelihoods, somebody who we have from advocacy also, right? All of them play a major role. So thank you so much, and quick thing is that we'll try to make this session as inspirational as possible and as informative as possible. That's something that we'd like to make it, because anything that they say is something that is going to be factually. So anywhere, if you think we are being factually incorrect, please excuse us, but we are trying to be as clear as possible. That's one thing. So I'll begin off quickly with a common sort of understanding, because Professor, there's one common thing that I've observed in all four of you. You having worked professor in Sri Lanka, currently working with the tourism community and people out there in the sector, and the way you advocate about this is through research and also helping a lot of people in driving livelihoods through tourism. And Ms. Kadambari, you have been in Pune and have been advocating a lot about a specific community and a specific set of individuals. How can we collaboratively clear barriers to have them get into the formal entrepreneurial or livelihood ecosystem? And funding from the perspective, I mean, I was really, moved by the line that you have on your LinkedIn, radically redistributing capital for systemic change. Everything put in it, actually. So with what you're doing in terms of training a lot of people who actually invest in the startups, telling them or helping them to understand how do you also look at other sectors for a systemic change, right? And Arun, you have been in Hyderabad for a long time, and an organization that always is on the top list for anybody in terms of advocacy through youth. For all the four of you, starting off with Professor Aslam, the first, in terms of entrepreneurship and all of these three sectors, right? In youth, women, and also minority group of people, where do you see the role of advocacy and do you see that it as a tool to clear the barrier for them to enter into the entrepreneurial ecosystem? So I'll start with you and then probably go ahead.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Of course, I think if you take the humanity or a human community from the ancient civilization to today, you can see what we need is every human being expect only one thing in the world, that is the happiness, nothing else. So advocacy is coming. Why we need the advocacy? The people always undergo maybe the struggle, suffocation, and feeling inferiority, always coming with the, when they don't have a happiness, then they search for the advocacy. So if I see the women, youth, or minorities, this is one of the key factor which they want in all over the world, for them to appear for nothing else, because we were born without anything. Everything's made us, right? Everything made us, just like we wear in the clothes. We are wearing the different clothes, so we make ourselves. But if you go inside, every human being's same. There's nothing else. Either male or a female, either different religion or a different geographical things, all human beings are same. The world, I think, since the civilization, what we have not, we made the advocacy. Right? That's the one important things what I want. If the human community be more beautiful, or in order, or more peace, or more, giving sharing each other their wealth and health and all things. Under these four things, what you can see, four important aspects. When we talk about the advocacy, one is we learn to share, and we learn to bear, and we learn to care, and we learn to grow. The goal always to be together. If we don't have a previous three factors, the growth won't be possible. It won't be possible, because we should be able to bear each other. That's the world. Nowhere you see the equality in the resources. Nowhere you see the equality in the educations. But unless and until we bear each other, it won't be possible for us to live together. And the meantime, if you are not willing to share, then that is still. And if as long as you share with you, much as possible you will be, flourish in the world. As long as you share. And definitely, when you have these two, next you will be caring. So that is the most important. What we talk about today's most important is the care economy. The whole world is today turning towards that, the care economy. So these three factors will come to the growth. So here, why we talk about much emphasizing women, youth and minorities, because we thought once upon a time, something behind the force is some sort of authority or a power or a masculine power. Today the world realizes that not only the masculine power is important, we need the feminine power, we need the minority, we need that, because as much as you have a diversity, the world is more beautiful. So even the minority, wherever you see, if we don't have a minority, the world will be blank. So any landscape which accommodate the minority, youth, woman, you will see the beauty. In one simple sentence I conclude, no land is beautiful without river. So in a Tamil song I have listened, always we define the woman for the river. Because most of the time, more than the men, the women face number of challenges, a large number of challenges. As much as the women face the challenges, their life become more beautiful. So the society become more beautified. Society beautified more and more through the woman. So if any society neglect or ignore, women, youth, minority will be, far behind. So in advanced society, if you go to Australia, even if you go to Japan, even if you go to America, this is what you can see. There is no term called minority. Recent past, in Sri Lanka also, we bring a campaign to remove the minority. There is no minority in the humanity. That is the term, even we ask the government to remove from all these things the minority. We should not talk. We can talk about the humanity. That's the advocacy what we can force. Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Kadambari, because interestingly, thank you so much, Professor, for that part. I think what biggest takeaway, of course, is that advocacy also sometimes can go wrong when we have to create new terminologies and everything is what I think we've heard about it. But Ms. Kadambari, over to you in terms of one, you have been with the individuals and you have been with institutions also, public institutions, doing, speaking about them, speaking for them, institutional setups that you have been part of. So where do you see the role of advocacy that you've been doing so far, and how does it transform to get these people into a sustainable livelihoods? How does that work? Just wanted to hear from you.
ओके मैं हिंदी में ही बात करूँगी. हाँ, मेरा रीजनल लैंग्वेज मराठी है. इन बिटवीन आई कैन टेक अ टर्म इन मराठी ऑल्सो. सो एडवोकेसी करना बहुत ज़रूरी है आज के दौर में, बिकॉज़ मैं आज इंडिपेंडेंट ट्रांसजेंडर वुमन एक्टिविस्ट करके सोसाइटी में एज अ एडवोकेट बोल के घूम रही हूँ, फिर रही हूँ. द वे आई वॉक, द वे आई stand in front of the society, I advocate as much as I can in the publicly. तो जैसे सर ने भी बोला कि ह्यूमैनिटी ग्राउंड पे हमने देखना चाहिए. पहली बात तो एडवोकेसी करने के लिए हमको ये जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है दैट वी आर डीलिंग विद ह्यूमंस, वी आर नॉट डीलिंग विद एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्ट और कमोडिटी और एनी ऑब्जेक्ट. दैट माइनॉरिटी में भी बहुत सारे कास्ट, कलर, रीजन, सब अलग अलग तरीके से लोगों को डिवाइडेशन होता है, धार्मिक होता है, उसमें हम लोग भी आते हैं. हम लोग मतलब हमारी जब बात करती हूँ मैं, तो हम और आप नहीं होता है, हम होते हैं. तो ये हम के लिए एडवोकेसी करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. इट इज़ नॉट अबाउट कि आप लोग और हम लोग. तो ट्रांसजेंडर लोगों का जो अस्तित्व है, उनका जो रियलिटी है, एग्जिस्टेंस है और उनकी जो साइकोलॉजी है, उसके बारे में अगर हम देखोगे और जानोगे तो बहुत सिमिलर होता है जैसे जनरल पॉपुलेशन का भी रेजिंग होता है, बट ये हम एक्सक्लूड करते हैं इंक्लूजन के तरफ ना लाते हुए। आज हम इंक्लूजन की बात कर रहे हैं, वी आर ऑन दिस प्लेटफॉर्म फॉर द इंक्लूजन ग्रोथ ऑन एवरीथिंग, बट आर वी रियली इंक्लूडिंग ट्रांसजेंडर्स और माइनॉरिटी पीपल ऑन द सेम प्लेटफॉर्म? नो, स्टिल वी आर डिवाइडिंग, स्टिल वी आर एक्सक्लूडिंग देम। तो ये एडवोकेसी लेवल पे आना बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम एक समानता के, इक्वालिटी के इसके ऊपर हमने बात करना चाहिए। बिकॉज ट्रांसजेंडर्स को आज भी डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, नॉन एक्सेप्टेंस, ये चीज़ों का आज भी हम लोग शिकार हैं। हम एजुकेशन लेते हैं तो एजुकेशन ना लेने के लिए भी बहुत सारी वजह हैं, क्योंकि एजुकेशन लेने के टाइम पे अगर मेरी आइडेंटिटी रिवील होती है तो फिर वो एजुकेशन मैं नहीं ले पाती हूँ, तो देयर इज़ अ लैक ऑफ एजुकेशन है। बीइंग अ ट्रांसजेंडर आइडेंटिटी अगर मैं जॉब लेने जाती हूँ तो वहाँ पे मुझे जॉब नहीं मिलता है। सो एम्प्लॉयमेंट के बहुत सारे वादे हो चुके हैं। अब ये सब सारे होते टाइम मेरे डिग्निटी के साथ, मुझे सम्मान के साथ सोसाइटी में रहना नहीं मिलता है। तो इसके लिए एडवोकेसी करना बहुत ज़रूरी है। यह एडवोकेसी हर एक लेवल पे होना ज़रूरी है, नॉट ओनली गवर्नमेंटल platforms or any sort of institutions, but every stakeholders in the society, जहाँ पे हम लोग जाते हैं, हम लोग करते हैं। दैट आई व्हाट आई सेड कि जब मैं खड़ी रहती हूँ, मैं जाती हूँ, तो लोगों का एक देखने का एक आईब्रोज खड़े होते हैं, ओह शी इज़ डिफरेंट फ्रॉम अदर्स। व्हाट डिफरेंट फ्रॉम अदर्स? या थोड़ा सा हाइट ज़्यादा है, थोड़ी सी मोर खूबसूरत हो, थोड़ी सी फेमिनाइन हो, तो ये सब पैरामीटर्स में जब हम जाते हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं डिस्क्रिमिनेशन भी उसके साथ आना होता है कि उसके साथ मत बैठो, उन लोगों से थोड़ा सा डिस्टेंस लेके रहो। तो ये सब जब होता है तब ये क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए? हम इक्वालिटी की बात करते हैं, जब संविधान ने हमको हम इक्वल है, ऐसा समान है, ऐसा बोला है, तो तुम हम कौन होते हो किसी को ना स्वीकारने के लिए? तो ये अस्वीकार और न स्वीकार को जो डिफरेंस गैप है, उसको फुलफ़िल करने के लिए एडवोकेसी बहुत सारे काम करती है। एडवोकेसी माने खाली बताना नहीं कि हम ऐसे हैं, हम वैसे हैं, बट राइट लेवल पे एज अ ह्यूमैनिटी ग्राउंड पे हमारे हक और हमारे अधिकार क्या है, उसके लिए भी हमको आज झगड़ना पड़ रहा है। तो वो भी एडवोकेसी बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट के पास हम जाते हैं तो गवर्नमेंट बोलता है कि हाँ आपके पास पॉलिसी है, आपके लिए कायदे हैं, कानून हैं, बट आर दे रियली इम्प्लीमेंटेड? ट्रांसजेंडर एक्ट आने के बाद भी ट्रांसजेंडर एक्ट की एडवोकेसी हमको करनी पड़ रही है, दैट वी आर लुकिंग टू इम्प्लीमेंट दैट एक्ट एट इमीडिएट, बट वो एक्ट की एडवोकेसी हम कर रहे हैं अभी कितने सालों से। 2019-2020 में उसको पॉलिसी लेवल पे हो चुका है। आज वी आर इन 2026, बट स्टिल वी आर एडवोकेटिंग स्टेक होल्डर्स, स्टिल वी आर एडवोकेटिंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस, स्टिल वी आर एडवोकेटिंग each and every human being in our own family members society, that yeah why we are like this, why, and it's source of I mean ये सब natural thing है, हम accept करना चाहिए that every human being is sort of x and y। तो हम उसको क्यों डिनाई कर रहे हैं कि इनका अलग है? हर सिक्के के दो पहलू होते हैं, हर जगह पे निगेटिव एनर्जी, पॉजिटिव एनर्जी वहाँ पर भी है। धूप है, छाँव है, सुबह है, शाम है, अमावस है, पूर्णिमा है। तो ऐसे ही हमारे में नेचर है ना, ह्यूमंस आर नॉट हम इक्वल, तो हम यहाँ पे कोई भी एक जैसा नहीं दिख रहे हैं। तो ये सब एक्सेप्टेंस होना चाहिए, ये सब एडवोकेसी में भी आना चाहिए, और ये नहीं आ रहा है। इसी का एडवोकेसी हम कर रहे हैं कि ट्रांसजेंडर आइडेंटिटी भी सम्मान के साथ, डिग्निटी के साथ जी सकती है, और हमें जितने भी अधिकार आज गवर्नमेंट ने दिए हैं और हमें जीने के जो अधिकार है एज ए ह्यूमन बीइंग, वो हमको मिलना चाहिए। इसके लिए एडवोकेसी बहुत ज़रूरी है और हम ये कर रहे हैं कहीं। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, Kadambari Garu. I think policy and inclusion is something that you've mentioned very strictly. And Ms. Himalaya, I'd like to be a little specific to you, is because there might be a lot of entrepreneurs sitting here today, founders and all, and many stakeholders from the ecosystem. And having been in the funding ecosystem, you help specifically a lot of investors to also look at startups that are founded by women, startups that are that are created for the rural or from the rural, right? So what does it take and how important it is to create that awareness among those investors to also look at these kind of startups that are coming? And in your experience, how do you do it?
Sure. Thank you. Okay. Hi, everyone. I am actually from Telangana, but I grew up in the United States. So sorry, my English is a little bit different, but thank you for listening. As you mentioned, I'm in the funding world. We actually saw two main problems in the funding ecosystem. One of the things we saw through research is it's very human nature. I say I'm from Telangana, maybe you're from Telangana. We meet, we have a shared experience. And so then based off of that shared experience, then we make a decision on funding because of how close we feel, right? And so even when you think about mentors and mentees, right? You look at someone and you say, oh, they look like a younger version of me. And when you look at someone and you say they're a younger version of me, you feel connected to them. And so you feel more likely to give them funding. It's common, it's human nature. But what happens is in funding, it's mostly men and it's mostly white men. And so then usually women, people of color, people from rural areas, they don't get funding. Because when a funder looks at you, they don't think, oh, we have a connection. They're making decisions with their heart, not with their head, right? And so that's one of the big problems we see in funding is that the similarities make the funding decisions. So one of the biggest things we do is we train investors. You have to have a rubric, a guide of how you make decisions, and you can't change that rubric per founder, right? You have to use the same rubric, and you have to have different measures. And so one of the things we did from my organization is we created a big rubric. So that way, one investor can use that same rubric for every founder of different businesses and be able to standardize their investment decisions. So that's one thing we did, and one big problem. The second problem is that historically, when someone has a tech startup, they're already wealthy, right? You have an idea, you have money, then you make a startup, right? And you have other people, your friends are also wealthy, you can make the startup. But when that startup gets big and you get lots of money, that doesn't go to the community, right? It makes wealthy people more wealthy. And so one of the other things we're looking at is from an investor education, how can you invest in startups that will have a social impact on the community? Even if it's technology or not technology, who is it impacting? Is it impacting a broader community, or is it only impacting a small community? Second is, who are the founders? Are they coming from a particular community? And if they become successful, what is the impact on that broader community? So those are the two things we look at.
Thank you so much. So a rubric that is independent of the gender, but any founder, whichever founder comes from whichever community, but it has to be a same rubric and has to be evaluated through the brain, right? So there's no differences that we see with who's coming and who's building it. Thank you so much, and would like to know more about the rubric a little later. Arun, I will come to you with regard, Youngistan Foundation is the largest youth-led, voluntary-driven organization with so many programs that are community-centric both in urban and rural areas of Telangana. So, and you've also recently gotten into deploying social startups for the impactful change or systemic change and all. So where do you see the role of advocacy in driving rural youth into livelihoods and entrepreneurship with what you've seen, right? With the experience that you have, and how does it work with that youth, because since you've worked with them?
Great, thank you. A big thank you to everybody for sharing some amazing insights. मेरा हिंदी हैदराबादी है, तो अगर समझ में आया तो ठीक है, नहीं तो वो गूगल में हैदराबादी डायलेक्ट भी डालना. But no, big thank you to YESummit for this amazing initiative. कितने लोग हैदराबाद को पहली बार आए? री अभी lovely, big clap for yourself, अच्छा खाइए, हैदराबाद का खाना बहुत अच्छा है और साहिल बोले जैसा वॉकिंग भी करिए. But just thank you, Pranay, for giving. See, advocacy, there's a very popular quote by B.R. Ambedkar. It says, educate, agitate, and organize. Okay? Um, it's very simple, you know. I think in rural India, जब भी हम काम करने जाते, there is very less knowledge. Knowledge बहुत कम है. You know, one of the big things that we need to do, or what we try and do, is educate people a lot. You know, we have to use tool of advocacy to educate people. You know, if people do not know, then policies will not change. Policies change नहीं होगा, और government को पता नहीं चलेगा क्या हो रहा. Communities में लोगों को मालूम नहीं होगा क्या सही है, क्या क्या आप लोगों को ज़रूरी पड़ेगा, माइनॉरिटीज़ कम्युनिटीज़ को क्या ज़रूरी. एजुकेशन बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है. दैट्स वाई अपना काम एजुकेशन से %% ज़्यादा हो जाएगा, यू नो, बहुत इजी हो जाएगा. सेकेंड इज़ ऑर्गेनाइज. ओके, एजिटेट, सॉरी, एजिटेट बोले तो जाके लड़ना नहीं, बट gather more people, you know, get more people to organize. What are the issues that we need to, what kind of policies that we want to make change. So for example, cyber safety during COVID was a big problem. COVID में बहुत scams बहुत हुए थे, बहुत entrepreneurs रहने दो, whoever started was working, they faced lot of problem. So advocacy एक बड़ा tool था जिधर across हम लोग एक project कर रहे थे तेलंगाना पुलिस के साथ, where we were across entire 33 districts of Telangana में we were running campaigns on how cyber security, cyber safety का need है. So what we started to do was identify local youth and train them up, educate them so that they were going on ground and they were making an impact. And third was making it more systematic, you know, so that longer social change हुए जैसा, longer impact हुए जैसा. So I think that is, I think 3 things what I think can sum it up is education plays a big role, how we need to educate government, ourselves, people around us, and second is get more resources to ourselves and tell people who have no idea about what opportunities are there, and third is, you know, make a larger impact and see what best we can do to help ourselves. When you want to make an impact, you, like, you know how it was told, you want to make a social transformation, you want to make organizations or entrepreneurs on ground, like TGIC does brilliant work. You know, we do little work with them. They run a project called Intent Innovator, which goes on ground and creates more entrepreneurs, more innovators. And we were grateful enough to play a little role in that, where we went on districts and created little work around it. So yeah, I think that is what I will try and sum it up. Yes.
Thank you. So we kind of understood that how advocacy gets the foundation right. It is the stage, and after that the wheel gets rolling. So I would like to hear from Dr. Aslam that when the inclusive initiatives start to play on field, how does it transform the lives of the people?
Thank you, Vaishnavi. Right. I think I'm audible. Huh? Now this is very simple thing what all the members in the community should understand. We all have learned ABCD. So this is what we have learned. If we want to overcome the challenge, or we want to think about the inclusivity, one thing what we have learned, from the need-based community development to the asset-based community development. That is what I told, ABCD. Because every human beings are embraced with some sort of skills and capacities and the resources. That could be tangible, that could be intangible. So, very beginning of thinking of inclusivity, we should accept every human has something to contribute. Then we can join. That is very important. Regardless the age, regardless the gender, regardless the geographical, political or any background, what we have to understand, every human being can contribute something. This is very important. Because traditionally we have been, I don't know, this is particularly to the our countries, we have still in the colonial mind settings. We think we have to have a master. This is the biggest problem. And no human being needs a masters. Every human being can be equally, contribute in the development processes. That is what very important. Where, most of the time people have some sort of the historical, traditional settings. People think they have developed the taboo, social stigma, that the female should be behind, and the youth should be behind, the senior should be front, and the educated should be front. This is some sort of a social stigma we are undergoing in the society. When you come to the inclusive society, these barriers should be removed.
Requesting the participants to please be seated.
So that's one of the very basic criteria what we have to understand. Then most the other things, what we have seen in the community, when we go for a decision-making process, we don't have a participative system. We always believe if I am there, a professor should make the decision. If there is a financially influential, affluent person, he can make the decision. We don't think about the people's skills or their expertise or their experience or sort of their feelings. We don't think. This is very important. So if we can allow the feelings to cross in the dialogue, first of all, maybe the child who is in a society, maybe having a very good feeling or maybe aspirations. So if we think, he is a child, we don't need to, consider him. No, that's not the matter. So if there is a child, we should give the attention to that child even. In an inclusive society, then this is very simple. Because now jargon of inclusive society, in the very big posters, in the very big conferences, what we talk, something else. If you go to the grassroots community, that is something practical. So in the political, in the international, geopolitical, we talk about the inclusivity, it's somewhat like macro level pictures. But that never come to the reality of the community. When you go to the grassroots, what they think, so that is what very important. So all the entrepreneurs, they will be one day they will happy when the entrepreneurships planted and grow and expanding and giving the fruiting. So you have to be out of the entrepreneurs. So then you will see the inclusivity. If you live within the problem and if you live within the circle, you never think about this. You have to come out and see what is the inclusivity. But most of the time, I know the minorities issues, even in Sri Lanka, people who suffer this inclusivity, they always within the circle and they think. They can't. They should come out. They should come out and see how this inclusivity is possible or suffering. So then we will be able to think. So unless and until any community, any nation think about the inclusivity, development cannot be sustainable. This is the things. That is the UN Sustainable Development Goals. One of the major criteria, principle is inclusivity. Because if we don't consider each and every force in the community, in the country, you can't reach the synergy. Without synergy, you can't think about the symbiosis. If you don't have a symbiosis, you can't see the sustainability. This is the track. Again, that is very important. Thank you.
Yeah, requesting if we can have a combination of Hindi and English, and also the questions and answers a little short because we are running out of time.
Yes. सो मेरा अगला सवाल कादम्बरी जी से रहेगा कि जब हम लोग फाइनली देखते हैं कि ग्रास रूट कम्युनिटीज़ जो है वो एम्पावर होती है, तो जो जो जब उन्हें ब्रेक थ्रू मिलता है तो वो नज़ारा कैसा रहता है?
ग्रास रूट लेवल में जब भी हमको मिलता है, कुछ काम मिलता है, कुछ ट्रेनिंग्स मिलते हैं, कुछ सेशंस होते हैं, उसके बाद हम एजुकेट होते हैं, लॉट ऑफ एडवोकेसी के बाद भी हमको कुछ प्लेटफॉर्म्स मिलते हैं, अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिलते हैं, उसके बाद जो भी मिलता है वो ऑस्कर से ज़्यादा नहीं होता है, उससे भी कहीं ज़्यादा होता है, क्योंकि दैट वी आर डिज़र्विंग फॉर एज ए ह्यूमन बीइंग, वी आर actually deserving for each and everything that is there surround us. हाँ, तो हम हर चीज़ के लिए उतने ही अधिकारपूर्ण, मराठीमध्ये मी जास्त चांगलं बोलू शकते, तर या सगळ्या गोष्टी आम्हाला चांगल्या पद्धतीने त्या जेव्हाच मिळतात जेव्हा आम्हाला आमचा हक्क आणि अधिकार खऱ्या अर्थाने मिळतो. हक्क अधिकार जेव्हा मिळतो तेव्हा हक्क अधिकार फक्त आमच्या शेल्टर आणि फूड आणि त्या 3 बेसिक गरजांसाठी नक्कीच नसतो, तो पूर्ण आमचं आयुष्य त्याच्यावरती निर्भर करतो. कारण का ॲज अ ह्युमन बीइंग आम्ही फक्त शिकत नाही तर आम्ही सोसायटीसुद्धा घडवत असतो. वी आर पार्ट ऑफ द सोसायटी अँड वी आर रॅशनल सिटीजन्स ऑफ इंडिया ऑल्सो. सो वी नीड टू कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट आवर सेल्फ ऑल्सो इन आवर इंडियन इकोनॉमी एज वेल. तो उसके लिए पहला खुद का इकोनॉमी होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. तो खुद का लाइवलीहुड के लिए, खुद के सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ के लिए हमको हमारा जो अधिकार पूर्ण है कि भले ही मैं 5 रुपये कमाऊँ पर अपने हक के कमाऊँ, रोज़ के कमाऊँ और रोज़ मुझे इनकम हो, तो वैसे प्लेटफॉर्म्स मिलना बहुत ज़रूरी है. और वो जब मिलते हैं तो बहुत अलग नज़ारा दिखने मिलता है. प्राउडली मैं बोलना चाहूँगी विथ यूथ एड फाउंडेशन एंड विद CYDA आज तक हमने 1500 से ज़्यादा लोगों को, ट्रांस पीपल लोगों को बिजनेसेस दिए हैं. और उसी का बुक का ओपनिंग भी हुआ है, पावर ऑफ 10,000. पावर ऑफ 10,000 में क्या पावर मिलता है वो उसी के बारे में बोला गया है. और इट इज़ अ ड्रास्टिक चेंज इन योर लाइफ. ये एक बहुत ही अलग नज़ारा है और ये सक्षमता की तरफ लेके जाने वाला है. और हम लोगों को एम्पावर करने के लिए सही मायने में ये जो हम एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम से बिजनेसेस देते हैं, उनके लाइक से, उनके चॉइस से हम उनको जब कोई सस्टेनेबल बिजनेस देते हैं तो वो एक्चुअली में सही मायने में उनको एक ह्यूमन होने का अधिकार देता है. और अच्छा लगता है हमको ये सब करके.
I'll make mine quick. So I very much agree with a lot of what has been said. One of the main focuses throughout society is that hierarchy, that older, have more wisdom. People who are, have a power have more wisdom. The other part is with capitalism, people who have money are also seen as people who are smart, right? And so one of the main things that we try and do through our education is to empower people in rural communities that don't have much money to also see that just because you don't have money or you don't have a big position, that doesn't mean you can't contribute. Especially in entrepreneurship, actually you can contribute more, right? Because in entrepreneurship, there is no right and wrong. And there are many solutions for many problems. And, just think about like myself. Most of my family lives in Karimnagar. But I don't, live in Karimnagar. So how could I say, oh, I'm going to be the leader in Karimnagar solving a problem, right? But what I can do is I can take my finance knowledge and I can empower the people who are living in my village to say, here, think about participatory budgeting, right? What you mentioned, instead of having one person decide how the budget is spent, there's a term called participatory budgeting. It originated in Brazil and then now has expanded. Those are things that I know, right, from education. I can teach other people. I can empower them saying, here are terms, here are case studies, here's ways that you can do it. But our entire goal is not that I become the leader, but that I share the knowledge of many people so that the people in different rural areas become the leaders of finance, become the leaders of entrepreneurship. So thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I would like to hear from you, as you said, why we should not consider the grassroots inclusion as charity work. From Himalaya.
Okay, so this has actually been a big point in my career that oftentimes, because of capitalism, we think the people who have money are the people who are smart, and then you're giving money as a charity to people who are poor. But when you think about entrepreneurship, the word innovation is there. But if the same people, like you were saying, the same people who come from the same lived experience, same background, same capital status, are the only ones making solutions to problems, then we don't actually have innovation in entrepreneurship. We have entrepreneurship, but we don't have innovation. Innovation, the word means difference. So you have to empower people of different backgrounds to come up with different solutions. So for us, we don't consider it charity. What we've seen, we've now run our program for 5 years, and we've done fellowships, and we empower people from different rural communities to become the leaders. What we've seen is the opposite of charity. They've educated us on different ways that we can use capital, use resources to be able to empower their communities. So in fact, we are educated back when we educate people from rural communities.
Thank you. So taking this forward, as we have very less time left, I would like to hear from you that what are the barriers that the community face when they try to, go one step ahead and access, when they want to get the access of, economic access or the support from the community. What are the barriers that the grassroots community face?
I think ज़्यादातर प्रॉब्लम्स जो कम्युनिटीज स्ट्रगल करते हैं कि लैक ऑफ नॉलेज, उन लोगों को पता नहीं है क्या करना, अगर कुछ स्टार्ट करने का है तो किधर जाना. आई थिंक दैट इज़ वेयर नॉन फॉर प्रॉफिट्स का रोल और गवर्नमेंट और एनीबडी हु कम, they will play a bigger role, because to help people understand what kind of opportunities are there. अगर opportunities है, because बहुत लोग आते हैं हमारे पास. अभी last week we are working in one urban community and we helped over 20 people get jobs, and which उन लोगों को पता ही नहीं था कहाँ जाके अप्लाई करना, क्या प्रोसेस है, etc. So one is of course lack of knowledge. Second is lack of access into the government rooms. Sometimes we feel opportunities government rooms में गया तो easy मिल जाएगा, but it's difficult, because communicate करना पड़ेगा सही तरीके से, and that kind of struggle is there. Having a bigger and more people friendly government options बहुत अच्छा रहेगा. I think Telangana has been doing like a great work with lot of innovation opportunities. They have given a lot of people opportunities to sell their at least come share their ideas, and they are building that ecosystem for them. I think that helped. And third is thoda funding like for entrepreneurs and all, I don't know, and also for non-for-profits. Resource opportunities hai to it's much better instead of struggling, because start karne se pehle you have to tell yourself I'm going to fail, it's going to be a struggle, वो पूरा बोल लेते अपने आप से, but you don't want to walk with that opportunity. You want to say, I'm going to change the world. मेरा impact बड़ा रहेगा. You know, मेरा ही product पूरा दुनिया देखेगा. You know, that kind of dream we want to have for ourselves. So, you know, you want to make life more easy. You know, I think those few opportunities I see a lot of people in the community is lacking. But otherwise, if they get that opportunity, अगर वो opportunity उन लोगों को मिलेगा, I think everybody are rock stars. Everybody are Steve Jobs, or everybody are Arun Daniel, Yelamati, and everybody here who can go and make an impact. I hope I answered that question. Yeah.
We'll open to the audience. Okay. Thank you so much, all the speakers, for sharing some insights, and I'm sure a lot of people might want to know a little more of what we may have not asked you or we may have not touched. So the panel is now open for questions from the audience.
We have a break for 5 minutes after this session. So hold on to your chairs for some more time. Yeah? Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm asking one question to you, Madam Himalaya. Can you at least get what I'm asking? Can you get the meaning? Or I'm asking him to
Sure.
ये इनके तरफ से क्वेश्चन. So मैडम एक फंडिंग एजेंसी के साथ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ है जो नीचे तले की ग्रास रूट्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को फंड करते हैं टू इंक्रीज देयर काम. तो क्वेश्चन मेरा ये है, which I'll translate in English. मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि यूथ एड फाउंडेशन द्वारा supported various business houses, business groups or other independent businessmen. ये लोग ऑलरेडी अभी येफी बनाए हैं, यूथ एड एंटरप्रेन्योर्स फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया. तो इनका मिनिमम 5 लाख का ₹500,000 5 लाख का ऑलरेडी टर्नओवर हो चुका है. अब लड़ाई है 5 को 50 में ले जाने, आगे बढ़ाने का, फ्रॉम इंक्यूबेशन टू एक्सीलरेशन जिसको कहते हैं. और ये भारत में है, आप यूएस में हो. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल थैंक यू फॉर कमिंग फ्रॉम यूएस इन दिस प्रोग्राम, थैंक यू फॉर दैट. Though you are an Indian origin person but traveling such a long distance. So प्रश्न मेरा ये है कि आपकी संस्था जो ऑलरेडी इंक्यूबेट हो चुका है उनको एक्सेलरेशन, मतलब जो बिजनेस शुरू कर चुके हैं उनको बड़े लेवल में ले जाने में क्या मदद कर सकते हैं? What can you support Indian grassroots entrepreneurs to move from incubation to acceleration? That's one. असलम साहब, ये दोनों हमारे विदेशी गेस्ट हैं तो मैं इन दोनों के लिए प्रश्न कर रहा हूँ. असलम साहब श्रीलंका से है तो मैं इंग्लिश में कर रहा हूँ. यू आर एन एक्सपर्ट ऑफ टूरिज्म. Tourism in India also is one of the areas for grassroots entrepreneurship. Share one or two experiences from Sri Lanka, and it's a very beautiful country. Not to make you happy, I've gone there twice. I know that. What are the small entrepreneurial initiatives you are doing for less than $1,000 in investments, where tourism can be supported? So that for Indian business guys, grassroots, what can be your suggestion? That's one and two.
Okay, actually, can I get your help in translating?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, okay. So I have 4 principles, right, that can be really helpful when you think for my founder's perspective. First one is defensibility. So when you think about creating a startup, when you think about defensibility, if something is good, can someone else copy it right away? If someone else can copy it right away, then your advantage of coming up with it, making all the product, is outweighed because someone else can also do that, right? And so that's the first principle, is think about the defensibility. And defensibility can come in multiple ways. Maybe you have expertise in that particular area. So think about like a bioscience, right? You have to have a lot of energy into biology. You have to understand pharmacology. You have to understand other things that maybe other people don't. But you can also think about it in terms of, do you know your customer base in the way that other people don't, right? And so if you can convince your community and your customer base that your product is worth selling or buying, other people don't know that customer base. So that's one defensibility. I don't know if you want to. Sure. No. Okay. The second one is scalability. So thinking about if you have, so like for example, a shoe, right? I make a shoe, she says, okay, I want to buy the shoe. I make the shoe customized for her, right? But then another person, Priya, says, okay, I like that shoe. Can you make me another shoe? I have to start from scratch again. So can you think about a way to actually, in the United States, maybe here too, people put on nails, right? But if you want to put on each individual nail, that'll take a lot of time, and every single person's hand is different. So one person decided, I'm going to send you a box, it's a foam. You put your hands in it, we get a print of each of your hands. That way, we already have it in the database. Every month, if you want us to send you nails, it's scalable, right? So thinking about scalability. Then you think about exitability. This is specifically for venture capital, right? If you want to have a big exit, then you have to think about what category does my startup fit in? This is actually for lots of funding. Everyone thinks, oh, my idea is so unique, no one has ever done it before. And they say, okay, are you in biotech? Are you in clean tech? And they say, no, nothing, right? I'm a whole new sector. But if you're a whole new sector, then funders don't know how to judge you, right? You have to fit into a category for people to say, okay, based on this category of software, based on this category of textiles, this is how risky or non-risky your product is. We can say, oh, you're doing great in sales. So that's what exitability is. Like, think about your margins. The last one is the team, right? And thinking about, you need different people on your team. You need someone who has good expertise, right? Good research, good mind. But you also need someone who can sell. And then the third is you need someone who can get people energizer, right? You need people who can energize people, because that's how you'll get the money from investors.
क्या नहीं, उसको आप डिफेंड कर सकते हो क्या नहीं, उसमें आपका कोई नयापन या ऐसा कुछ है जो और लोग नहीं कर सकते, ये डिफेंसिबिलिटी। दूसरा स्केलेबिलिटी, जो आप बना रहे हो, समझो 5000 बना रहे हो, उसको 50000 तक ले जा सकते हो क्या नहीं, उतना मार्केट आप समझ सकते हो क्या नहीं, उस मार्केट में आपका प्रोडक्ट की पहचान यूनिक है क्या नहीं, सो स्केलेबिलिटी। और तीसरा, व्हाट वाज द थर्ड वन, एग्जिटेबिलिटी। शायद ये आपके लिए बहुत ज़्यादा एप्लीकेबल नहीं है, फिर भी एग्जिटेबल, आप जिस एक कैटेगरी में आप आते हो क्या नहीं, आइदर टूरिज्म कैटेगरी और टेक्सटाइल कैटेगरी और एग्रो फूड प्रोडक्ट्स कैटेगरी, जिससे किसी कारण से अगर कोई दूसरा बड़ा बिजनेस को टेक ओवर करना चाहे आपको पैसा देकर, जो आप मांग रहे हो, तो वो एग्जिटेबिलिटी स्कोप है क्या नहीं। पर्टिकुलरली वेंचर कैपिटल वो एग्जिटेबिलिटी को देखते हैं। चौथा फाइनल वन, टीम। और आपका टीम कैसा है, आप अकेले ही हीरो हो, आपके साथ 4 और हीरो है, जो लोग सेल कर सकते हैं, जो को प्रोडक्ट बढ़ा सकते हैं। ये बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट पॉइंट है सबके लिए। सब लोग 1 मैन या 1 वुमन आर्मी होते हैं और बाकी बहुत छोटे छोटे होते हैं। तो ये इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आप पावरफुल एक टीम तैयार करो, आप उतना ही पावरफुल बनोगे जितना। तो ये 4 पॉइंट पे वो लोग इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, 4 पॉइंट पे वो लोग
I think very precisely I will tell, in the world, one and only the entrepreneurship you can start without venture capital, without a seed capital, that is the rural tourism. You don't need to have a financial capital. If you have other capitals, if you have a social capital, if you have environmental capital, if you have a spiritual capital, you can start the business. Only thing, the authorities or the development authorities or ecosystem can support them through the capacity building. If we can build the capacity and identify their capital which is within them, then they can start these things. So therefore, if you come to the rural community where I have initiated, I have banned giving loan. Very big, because in Sri Lanka, most of the bankers are very, very keen to give loans for the rural communities, because they don't have advocacy to fight against them. So some or other they had to sell their property and repay the loan. This is the biggest trauma I have gone through in some of my projects. So I ban getting loan. And I ban giving charity. You can't give the charity to these people because they are skilled people, they have a capacity and they have their own wealth. They can enhance the wealth. So only thing what we need to show them the lighthouse. and coach them to reach the lighthouse. That's enough.
Yeah.
डोमेन है जिसमें बिना पैसे का अत्यंत कम पैसे से भी काम चालू हो सकता है, चाहे वो आध्यात्मिक जगह हो, ग्रामीण सौंदर्य की जगह हो, प्राकृतिक रूप में बहुत सुंदर जगह हो, वहाँ बहुत आसानी से बिना पैसे का या बहुत ही कम पैसे से टूरिज्म या पर्यटन शुरू किया जा सकता है। उसमें श्रीलंका का एग्जाम्पल देके बोल रहे हैं, बैंक सामने से मदद भी करते हैं और ये चैरिटी नहीं है, ये दान नहीं है। आप जो करते हो उसमें प्रॉफिट और उसके बाद आप बैंक को रिटर्न करना, ये दोनों ने ही बोला ये दान नहीं है, ये व्यवसाय है और उस हिसाब से इसे देखना चाहिए।
Thank you, thank you. We come to the end of the session. We thank our moderators, Vaishnavi and Pranay Kumar, and also we thank our panelists. We call upon Shahaji Ayat. Please come to the stage. We, Ritesh? Yeah. So thank you to Vaishnavi. Thanks for moderating the session so well. We are sure you will be able to work more in the grassroots. Thank you, Pranay, for being here. Even though you have injured your leg and yet you have made yourself available to us. Thank you so much. Thank you to Professor Aslam, all the way who's traveled from Sri Lanka. Thank you so much for being with us. To Kadambari, our dear friend, you have motivated many more people here. Thank you so much. Himalaya Rao. Thank you again for traveling from so far. We are sure you will help us in strengthening ourselves. And thank you to Arun Daniel. Thank you for being here. We are fortunate to have the words of wisdom. Thank you to all of you.
Now I request all the panelists to pose for a group photo, and all of you have received a very unique book that was launched yesterday. The flexes are on both your sides. So this is a very special book written by the grassroots innovator. This is called Power of 10,000. So bet the seed money of as little as 10,000, how magical world can happen in terms of entrepreneurship. That's the concept of the book. So I'll request you guys to please hold the book. We'll pose for a group photo. Yeah. And audience, please give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Yes, so now we'll quickly